Hey, welcome into the Friday weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Both coming to you from our homes on this Friday afternoon. Be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content, and excited to do so. Got a lot of good stuff to get into here over the next couple of hours. Wade, how's your Friday?
Man, Friday's good, Mo. Good to see you. Good to be with everybody. Good to see our producer, Mark Rogers, making the magic happen back behind the glass on this glorious Friday. Yeah, it is a hot one, but it's a fun one. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. In the second hour, we will be joined by one of our favorite guests, JAMESETTA Cleveland of Sports Mom U, talking a little college sports and the business thereof. It's always fascinating when we talk to JAMESETTA because we learn something we didn't know, man. There's so much going on as far as NIL and everything else these days, and it's tough to really keep up with a lot of it, but she is an expert at it and does a great job trying to keep potential college sports parents and families informed on what's going on as they get into that realm. So looking forward to visiting with JAMESETTA Cleveland in the next hour. In the next segment, I'm pretty fired up about Sounds outfielder Daz Cameron, who has, in 2 stints with the Sounds, been a powerhouse, man, for a lack of a better phrase. We'll get into the numbers when we get him on in the next segment, but just suffice it to say, when the Sounds are in town and he's around, you might want to go check him out.
No ball is safe. If you're in the outfield, look to the sky because, yeah, you might get a free souvenir anytime this guy's at bat and anytime you're at First Horizon.
He's been fun to watch, man, been very productive for the Sounds through a successful summer, both for himself individually and for the team. So excited to catch up with him here in the second segment. We're also going to talk a lot of college football, some interesting and some just outright intriguing, man. Just stick around for it because we've got some interesting stuff to get to. Kind of broke loose after the show yesterday, but really it feels like a wild and wacky Wednesday subject, one of these pieces in particular, but we're going to get into all that. Again, we'll be talking some Major League Baseball as well, some hoops, both collegiately and with the professional ranks on the women's side. We'll be talking some college football, a little NFL as training camps get cranked up. And we'll get into what's on tap for the weekend, including a trip west for our favorite soccer team here locally. So, again, plenty to get into.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. I mean, we're right here smack dab at the end of July. This time next week, it'll be August, and we enter those dog days kind of territory. But this time next week, we'll be talking about the Hall of Fame game. Football will be back on our TV next Thursday night. So we are ready to rip and run here in this final kind of celebratory weekend before we buckle up for the real deal.
Yeah, I saw a tweet yesterday that said this is the last Thursday that we will not have football. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for football fans, that's pretty exciting. For sports journalists, it might be a little depressing. So we kind of
there's a strong Venn diagram, though. There's a lot of overlap between those two.
That's true. That is true. Absolutely. So it and
for the love of the game.
Fair. Yeah. I think it's a little depressing because I would say it's time to go back to work, but I don't know that we ever stopped necessarily.
Yeah, we've been here, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, football. We keep saying it's right around the corner, but it's pretty much here at this point. So looking forward to getting into all of that. Let's go ahead and get started, Wade, as we give the people yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
On it, boys and girls. Well, you got it. The Friday rundown is here, and it means we wind back the clock to Thursday for your results. We've got a couple of diamond results to give you. MLB action last night. The Astros had zero answer for Luis Severino last night as the Athletics star free agent signing dazzled in a 5-2 victory over Houston, again down in H-Town. Not much luck for the Nashville Sounds as well. We'll talk with Daz in a minute and see kind of what went wrong, but it was a 2-0 defeat courtesy of Charlotte last night. Again, Charlotte defeating Nashville 2-0. WNBA scoreboard last night. It was the Sparks over the Sun. Might expect that. 101-86. It was the Fever over the Aces. Might expect that. It was the Seattle Storm walloping the Chicago Sky. Might expect that. 95-57. Kind of everybody holding serve last night across your WNBA scoreboard.
Today's schedule, we've got baseball as the Atlanta Braves, following an off day yesterday, will travel to Arlington, taking on the Texas Rangers. That is a 7:05 start. You can see it on the MLB network. 5 minutes later, over in Houston, the Astros will continue their series against the Athletics. Again, that's a 7:10 start there. Nashville Sounds baseball continues at First Horizon Park tonight. That's a 6:35 first pitch as the Charlotte Knights finish up a 6-game series tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday. You will have Friday fireworks if you go out to First Horizon tonight. Also, it's Christmas in July. So I guess I would be interested to see what St. Nick looks like on Christmas in July at First Horizon Park in Nashville. Somebody get me a picture of that. What's Santa Claus geared up in? And I hope he stays hydrated. Anyway, WNBA action tonight. Got a pair of games, both being shown on ION at 6:30. You've got the Phoenix Mercury traveling to the New York Liberty. You've also got the Las Vegas Aces finishing up a back-to-back against the Minnesota Lynx up in the Twin Cities. Both those games are at 6:30. Check your local listings to see which one you get here. The second half of a ION doubleheader at 9 o'clock, the Dallas Wings are at Golden State against the Valkyries, minus Kayla Thornton, apparently, who had season-ending knee surgery today. MLS action tonight out on the West Coast. The Nashville Soccer Club travels, taking on San Diego. Again, that's a 9:30 start. You can see it on Apple TV. We'll be talking about that one more later in the show.
Let's roll into Saturday, where the schedule continues. A couple of games that start, 5 minutes apart yet again. It'll be the Braves at the Rangers beginning at 6:05. You can see that one on FanDuel Sports South. Athletics at Astros at 6:10 p.m. To the Nashville Sound schedule we go. Charlotte at Nashville at 6:35. It'll be Hit City Saturday, where they will also be recognizing and celebrating the 2005 PCL Championship, where they will do so with a replica jersey. If you're one of the first 1,000 fans in attendance, you'll get a 2005 replica jersey. So get to the ballpark early, but 6:35 is your designated first pitch time. A couple of WNBA games on the Saturday slate. At 6, it'll be the Sparks at the Liberty. That one will be shown on NBA TV. WNBA League Pass will be your destination at 6:30. If you're looking for the Seattle Storm, they will be at the Washington Mystics.
Sunday schedule at 1:10, the Athletics and the Astros wrap up their series out in Houston. 1:35 p.m., it's the Braves and Rangers. You can see that one on FanDuel Sports. Nashville Sounds action, they close out their series against Charlotte. That's a 6:05 start over at First Horizon Park. It's Sunday Family Fun Day. It's also Book Fair night, and it's Library Night ticket bundle. Go to NashvilleSounds.com to get more information on that. WNBA action on Sunday. It's a pretty full slate. Golden State is at Connecticut. That is a 12 noon start. You can see it on the CBS Sports Network. At 2 o'clock, it's the Indiana Fever at the Chicago Sky. That one's on ABC. At 3 o'clock on ESPN3, it's the Aces at the Wings. Phoenix travels to Washington for a 5 o'clock tip. And at 6 o'clock on NBA TV, it's the Atlanta Dream at the Minnesota Lynx. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top star to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as so often been the case this week, it comes from Memphis. Again, late yesterday evening, we started seeing this. Former Memphis defensive back Taj Rael, who, and I'm not the biggest Memphis football fan, but I'd never heard of this guy until yesterday evening. But he transferred to Purdue, but apparently not before last season, leaking portions of the team's playbook to Texas San Antonio quarterback Owen McCown. And if you're a UT fan with a little age on you, this one kind of sounds familiar. I'll bring you up to speed on that in a second. But apparently, Rael was showing coverages and signals from the Tigers defense to McCown, who is the son of longtime NFL backup quarterback Josh McCown, by the way. But UTSA won this game 44-36 first weekend of November last fall. The situation is being downplayed on everybody's part at this point. Memphis, UTSA, and Purdue, where Rael is currently on the roster. He was at Memphis for one season, played 4 games, started 2, did not play after September for Memphis. So again, this took place heading into a November contest. UTSA won it by a touchdown. He's saying this was completely irrelevant, and so is everyone else involved, including American Conference Commissioner Tim Pernetti. Again, both coaches, Silverfield and Traylor, and Purdue is really trying to play down the whole situation. But how can you have a guy, if you've got to confirm whether or not this actually happened, and then you got to wonder, do I want this guy around my program?
That's a fair question, right? And, my immediate thought in today's day and age was it felt like an NIL situation, perhaps, I'm not so happy with my sitch here. And the bottom of that message, where it says bet, but let me know if they cut your stuff. I'll put you in a word implying, hey, I'll hook you up as far as finding your next school. I bet you will. If I'm sending you some of the goods on our playbook here, you better be able to hook me up with something. I'm not just doing this for fun. But yeah, kind of a weird situation, and to your point, kind of can't be surprised that every single person is kind of trying to deny this. This is not something that anybody really wants to own up to.
No, and I mean, I don't know. Again, after this broke loose yesterday evening, I don't know how you walk into the locker room at Purdue in this day and time and folks aren't giving you the side eye as you're getting ready to go out for practice or whatever is going on up there at this point. That's really odd stuff to me.
Yeah, and I mean, you got a brand new coach there in Barry Odom too. So I mean, you're kind of glancing around. This is not a good look. And I mean, you can deny everything you want, but the receipts are what the receipts are. And it sure, I know ChatGPT is getting better every day, but it sure doggone looks like a Instagram DM exchange to me. And, the question kind of becomes why, right? And I mean, if this is a kid that was already on his way out, some reports, according to some Memphis outlets that, he was going to be on his way out of the program anyway. So I kind of get the scorched earth type mentality. But like I said, this is not a good look for anybody at this point.
McCown, 20 of 37 for 280 yards, 4 touchdowns in that 44-36 victory over Memphis.
One of only 2 games that Memphis lost in conference play all last year. Army was the kind of darling, but Memphis didn't have to play Army. They lost to Navy and then lost to UTSA in this game in question. My thought was, how you only going to win by 8 points whenever you got the playbook, practically, it sounds like.
Yeah, and maybe that's why you want to make it sound like it was completely irrelevant. Had nothing to do with anything. Yeah, but, again, this is a guy who on the year, what are his – Hang on, let me see if I can get to his yearly stats. For the year, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, threw for 3,400 yards, but went without one, particularly in that Memphis game. So, you know, and maybe there was nothing that came out of it, but maybe it's just the optics of it more than anything else. It's not a great look. And again, as soon as I started hearing about it, my mind went back to the early 1990s when a former Tennessee assistant, Jack Sells, who had been fired for recruiting violations and lying about them. It's never the crime. It's always the cover up, y'all. Remember that. But Sells lied to NCAA investigators over some recruiting violations, got fired at the University of Tennessee over the summer of 91. Few days ahead of their game against Florida, Sells was at a Kinko's, and you different time. You can't just person to person send stuff. It takes a third party. But he faxed some copies of some plays to Florida defensive coordinator Ron Zook ahead of that UT Florida game. According to newspaper reports, a Kinko's employee recognized Sells and stopped the transmission after 10 to 15 pages, called the UT athletic department, which sent an employee to collect the pages. Spurrier admitted the facts had been received, but said neither he nor Zook had meant to mislead the public by saying they received nothing improper. Sells sued Kinko's, accusing the business of violating his privacy, damaging his reputation, and destroying his career. The lawsuit was settled in 95. I don't know what kind of legal action Rael can take in this situation, if any, because it sounds like you're dead to rights. But thing I thought about when I heard about this, it's always somebody that's been wronged that's going to get their get back some kind of way, I guess. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, and you're talking about a guy, this is one of these 2025 versions of, Ring Around the Rosie, right? 3 seasons at Old Dominion, season at Memphis, now at Purdue. He's hoping, obviously, this thing kind of just is blown away and kind of he can finish what little bit of a college career he has kind of left in terms of eligibility without major incident. I don't know. This also, part of me, this obviously does feel like a big story, but this also could not have come for a worse time for Rael. If this had, kind of leaked out in mid-September, it's a story for a couple days, but we got bigger fish to fry. We got bigger games to focus on and cover, but it could not have came at a worse time. Coach Traylor for UTSA, as you mentioned, he's really kind of distancing himself. And I mean, that's the question, right? How much can you realistically, I had a friend ask me about this last night, how much is the coach in on this, or what's the ethical kind of boundaries there? And my thought was, are you really going to trust a DM from a kid on Instagram? Kind of, this seems, you could go Machiavellian on this here. Hey, here's our coverage. Here's our game plan. Oops, just kidding. I'm actually standing right there and I'm taking your pass to the house, right, is where I was going with that. So I kind of get why the coaches don't dig into it. I kind of get why Traylor's obviously distancing himself. And also to your point, yeah, you only win by 8 points. You got the goods. You hopefully would win by more than that.
If the goods are for real, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was a little double agency going on there. Maybe UTSA didn't trust the info that they got. There's a lot there, but I think it's more of a look thing than anything else when all is said and done. I just don't know that it has a smell test. And again, my bottom line is, if I'm Purdue, I got to really be looking at this guy askew in my locker room. That's the biggest thing. That's my biggest takeaway, I think.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of his particular NIL agreement. I wonder if there's a line in there, hey, if we find out you've been abusing company property or intellectual property, that might be one that the legal experts will have to get into. And, man, if the other kid in question, number 0, Cortland Marsh, is who is being identified here. How about him catching a complete stray, by the way? The weakest link on the field, and he's number 0. Man, they just laid him out right there. So if that was indeed Cortland that he was referencing, I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be on site between Rael and Cortland. I think if
Yeah.
dude, if I see you, you better cross the street. Yeah, absolutely. That's some pretty wild stuff there. But there's our top story brought to you by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back and continue on the weekend warm-up, we'll be joined by Nashville Sounds outfielder Daz Cameron. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Ely. We anxiously await the arrival of Nashville Sounds outfielder Daz Cameron, who has been on a tear pretty much the whole time he's been here since he arrived earlier this year in a trade with Baltimore, brought him over from AAA Norfolk. He's made an appearance at the big league level since joining the organization, got called up to the Brewers for a few weeks, come back down, hasn't missed a beat since he came back down. In 21 games, he's got 11 home runs, 31 RBIs, and scored 21 runs in 21 games. So, again, suffice it to say, he's pretty much done everything they could ask him to do offensively in both of his stints with the club, and been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, we've talked about this guy a lot, and certainly has been kind of on a bit of a tear, been kind of, in many ways kind of rejuvenating his career and kind of really settling in nicely here in Nashville / with the Brewers.
Yeah, absolutely. A guy who has seen some major league time since the beginning of his career, drafted by the Astros, actually, Wade. Back in 2015, made his major league debut with the Tigers in 2020, and has played in the majors in parts of 5 of the last 6 seasons. So kind of been an up and back kind of guy, kind of a reserve type piece at the major league level, but certainly has shown the goods at the AAA level on every turn. So.
Yeah, it would have been nice to keep him in Houston, but the Astros front office said, if we can go out and get Justin Verlander, let's maybe go ahead and get Justin Verlander. So I kind of get the logic there, even though it kind of comes, one of the great trades in Astros history, and some great times there for Verlander. But kind of an interesting trivia piece, him and some other guys as part of that package there.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, if you say you got traded for Justin Verlander, I mean, that's certainly an understandable move there. So hard to argue that one. Son of former Major League outfielder Mike Cameron as well, who also spent some time with the Sounds on a couple of occasions, once early in his career as he was coming up with the White Sox and then on a rehab with the Brewers. So looking forward to chatting with dads about not necessarily covering the same ground that his dad covered, different stadium now, but certainly both of their experiences here in Nashville. I'm sure things have changed quite a bit from when Mike was here to now. But again, hoping to get Daz here in a bit. The Sounds continue their series against Charlotte tonight at 6:35. They finish it up with one tomorrow night and one Sunday night. All night games here in in a concession to our July weather, basically.
Yeah, the sun is, beating down. I mean, it's kind of like the evil sun from Super Mario 3 in terms of, just bearing down on everybody these days. So kudos to them for recognizing that. Nobody really wants to be out there at noon or 2 o'clock on a Sunday if you can avoid it. But should set up nicely. You mentioned earlier, get a little fireworks, get a little Hit City Saturday going, get some throwback jerseys kind of going. Sunday family fun day on, Sunday should be a lot of fun too. Hopefully get back off the schneid a little bit. We talked a little bit about that 2-0 result, but the night before on Wednesday, an 11-inning slugfest that Nashville wins 14-13. So they've kind of had the better of Charlotte in this series, but we still got 3 games to go.
Yeah, and when their offense gets involved, man, they can slug it with anybody. Again, with Cameron and with Bobby Dahlbeck and with some of the guys that they have picked up over the course of the season, they've got some guys that can swing it, and it's really made them even more potent with the pitching that they kind of broke camp with. They've kind of had a plethora of pitchers. Got Chad Patrick back earlier this year from the Brewers. He's still kind of mentioned in some Rookie of the Year talk, but it's kind of peripheral since he's, again, in AAA. Obviously, Jacob Mizorowski began the year with the Sounds and is now dazzling in the majors with the Brewers. So that's a team that's an organization that's kind of been pitching heavy at the top level, but you don't necessarily expect them to get shut out. Somebody did a great job for Charlotte last night, for sure.
Yeah, kind of winning games in different ways, and kind of may be a great question to kind of talk with the management or the brass for the Sounds, but also Rick Sweet kind of. And you're on one hand, obviously so excited for a guy like Mizorowski and kind of what he's done already at the major league level, all-star selection, leading Rookie of the Year candidate as we sit here today. But also on the other hand, you're like, well, wait a second, we kind of lost one of our major pieces. So I'd love to know, how much of a shift, is there any shift at all in terms of your mindset? Do the hitters maybe feel like, all right, now we have to go out and score a few more runs? We've talked about Chad Patrick, going up and down a couple times on this show. So that's always kind of the fascinating puzzle piece when you're talking about the minor league / parent club type level, and kind of how all those bits and pieces kind of come together to form your strategy.
Absolutely. And, in our past conversations with Rick and with Adam English and with other folks involved with the Sounds, obviously the goal on a day-to-day basis is to get these folks ready to contribute at the next level. I mean, it's nice to win, but the development piece is the primary piece for them. If you can win at the same time, then that's fantastic. But just getting those folks ready for when the Brewers need them to contribute at the major league level, obviously that's job one for them. And they've had a lot of those over the course of this season and previously as well. So Again, Nashville Sounds outfielder Daz Cameron, our scheduled guest here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Seems he had some field work that he needed to tend to ahead of us, but we are hopeful that he can get in here in the next bit. So we continue to chat. The Sounds are in the second half of their schedule. They play a split season in the International League. They are 57-40 overall, and I think with that loss last night, they fell to like 13-11 in the second half of the season. So second half has not been quite as kind as the first half, but overall, pretty successful year. And again, though the winning and the losing is secondary to the development, you still want to win, especially at home. So last night's was a tough one. They fell to 13-11 with that loss last night. Again, a rare shutout, 2-0. Despite 9 strikeouts from Nestor Cortez, former New York Yankees pitcher Nestor Cortez punched out 9 in that loss. Craig Yoho out of the bullpen, a guest with us last summer, has gone 11 straight scoreless innings over 10 games with his performance last night. We mentioned Chad Patrick. He's tonight's scheduled starter. So,
yeah, I need to do some digging and find out. Chad's obviously kind of been up and down, so it's been maybe a little more difficult than this time last season to kind of build some camaraderie. But I just need to know if the Glizzy machine is back in the clubhouse for Chad there. So I'm going to make a promise and a vow to our viewers and listeners that I'm going to work on that here in the next little bit. Try and do some fact finding.
There you go, a little intel there. Absolutely, yeah. It looks as if perhaps we have our guest, Daz Cameron, outfielder for the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Daz Cameron, he of the 9-game hitting streak coming into tonight's action against Charlotte. Mr. Cameron, good afternoon.
How you guys doing, man? I'm here on the bench, sitting with my fellow guy here, who's
not too hot out there, is it?
I mean, it's hot. Yeah, it is. Of course, Nashville is hot. So I definitely say that, being here has been, a blessing so far, just being able to see the atmosphere of the crowds every night when we play, and just seeing everything that's going on here. But, playing the game, obviously, it's something that I love to do. So, yeah, I'm loving the atmosphere here.
Being a Georgia native, this heat's not really anything new for you, right?
No, not necessarily. Georgia is, I want to say, is the same thing as pretty much Tennessee. It's just, I think Atlanta has a little bit more of a bigger city, and the things to do there can be, I think, a little bit more. But I mean, as far as Nashville is, I think that it's the same. I think Nashville, the city, is growing here a lot more, and it's starting to look exactly like Atlanta.
Talk about, Daz, the success that you've been able to have at the AAA level with the Sounds. Again, 11 home runs, 31 ribs in 21 games. I mean, it kind of sounds like a stay ready so you don't have to get ready type deal. I mean, you've been particularly successful at the plate through your run here in Nashville. What's been the key to that for you?
Do the little things in the batting cage, man, to prepare me for in that bat or pitcher that we're facing that night. Most of the time, those guys have some cues that they go to get hitters out, whether that be with their first pitch, second pitch, or the third pitch. And I try to practice hitting each of those pitches in the batting cage and hitting each where they're throwing it from that angle that they're throwing it, so that I'm ready to perform and give an effort to my team that night for a win.
Daz, as you kind of go through this season, and we were talking about, kind of your journey overall, but going through this particular season, are you still in that mode where you're trying to pick up a little something from whatever brief time you maybe get at the show? Are you trying to take a little nugget back and squirrel it away so that your next stint can be even longer, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think that a lot of it is, pick and choose. But as far as the business, being in this, the organization that I'm in now, I think there's been a lot of different just avenues and things that I can reach back into to be, resourceful about the analytics now, for me to understand that more about the statistical part of the game that I got to heavily keep my mind steady in so that I can give myself the most successful day during the day or the night that I'm planning for a game that day. And for the most part, I think it's just that, man. I think it's that understanding that when the opportunity is there, just try to do as much and make the most out of that and be prepared and see what happens from there.
When you get back to Nashville and when you kind of arrive back and you get into the clubhouse, what's it like talking with Coach Sweet, having a guy that's such a veteran and such a guy that's really seen it all? What's it like having that guy kind of ultimately in your corner at all times?
Definitely, man. I mean, he's been there and done it. He has a few games, a few years playing in the show, and just being around him, knowing that he has a mentality to go to the ballpark, being ready to play that night, and be around and be, aware is which is most important. And he's played for I think he played for Seattle Mariners, but he's from Seattle, and my father was played in Seattle, so there's kind of a little bit of a relation there in terms of that. But him being here makes us understand the game a lot more day in, day out. There's not one day that you don't learn anything about baseball and continues learning now. At this age that I am now, I'm able to say that I'm thankful and blessed for the healthy gains that I've been able to gain throughout the course of my career, which is most important. But to have him around is a blessing, I definitely say that.
Daz Cameron, Nashville Sounds outfielder, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. You talk about spending time around Rick Sweet. What's it like growing up the son of a major leaguer and pursuing that sport? Because I know you have a brother who went in a different direction athletically. I'm going to ask you about him in a second. But, coming up kind of in the shadow of a Mike Cameron, what are the challenges and what are the benefits of that situation?
Yeah, I think that for the most part, having my father around, there's a lot of knowledge about the game that you learn more so than anything. Just understanding the everyday part of it, knowing that you're going to the ballpark for a purpose, and understanding the things that are around you to be able to be successful during the situations that we learn during the game, whether that be less than a runner on second, you're up the bat, and guys already, giving up a few runs. Guy might not. He's going to go to his best pitch. Just understand little things like that kind of give you a thought ahead before the process happens. And there's been a lot to go into that. But to have him and then have some guys that have also been around him and play has helped me keep continuously wrap my mind in my game itself to be best at all phases of the game as I possibly can be, whether it be defense or offense.
When did you make the decision to go baseball? Because again, Mackay heading into his senior season up at Tennessee Tech, coming off an injury that sidelined him last year, but he's basketball. You've decided to kind of follow in your father's footsteps with baseball. Was that a conscious decision, or did it just kind of evolve, or how did that go for you?
For my brother, I think that going back to that, he loves. I think he loves the game. He loves basketball. I think of course, the sport. Two sports are different in terms of just the actions of how you're going to be able to go about, the movements and the workouts and things of that nature. Baseball is more of a focused sport to focus on the little things, before the bigger things happen during the game. And we all know, man, hitting the baseball, that small baseball, can be tough, and so the skill set has to be, cleaned up and precise every day to do so. I think with basketball, I mean, that there's certain things that, basketball and baseball can kind of relate to as far as the flick of the wrist and things, the little details that help you allow you to stay consistent with shooting. But for the most part, man, it's just his path was what he chose. Obviously, I mean, he's like 6'4" and a half, 6'5", so being a point guard of that tall, and then, starting off to have the career that he was having, this year when he first started to play ball with Tennessee Tech was important to see, and knowing that there was a possibility of professional basketball there. But as far as the game, man, it's two different games. He doesn't want anything to do with baseball. He doesn't care about baseball as much as I do. He's like, man, it's just something my brother does. I'm pleased to do that, but he knows what he does, man, and he's very wise at his decision making. So we constantly preach that. So.
What's
Daz, I
your
wanna ask
basketball
you-
background?
Yeah, give us an update there.
Oh, I did a little. So I was playing varsity, and then I couldn't, couldn't practice as much as I could to play baseball, and football was already a sport that I already chose to quit doing it, right before my ninth year of summer, and so I was really good at football doing that, and there was a lot of talk around school about going there, and I had to see me play a little bit, and I just thought to myself that there was a sport that I wasn't going to do, and if I was going to do either one of these sports, I want to be really good at it and practice both of them, and I knew that I couldn't practice both of them as much as I practiced baseball, so I chose this sport, and it kind of worked out well, man, and gained some time, some service up until this point, doing a lot.
Daz, I wanted to ask you and tell us the truth here. Is there any trash talk between you and Dad? I'm looking at the ratings for the Diamond Dynasty cards on MLB The Show, and a 93 prime card for your dad. Does he throw that in your face a little bit?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously he knows that he's had the longer career so far at this point. But I mean, we don't really talk about that as much. He just tries to tell me, "Hey, man, try to be better than what I was, as much as you can." And for the times that he does talk a little bit of crap, I mean, he will say like, "Hey, man, like we got more power, and this and that sometimes." But if you see him, he's a big guy. He's strong, but if you ask him one of these days, he'll know that I picked him up and wrestled him to the ground, and kept him down. But I mean, like, so I was definitely say that we're pretty strong. But as far as the talent, we joke around from time to time, but it's nothing too much of nothing. Too much of joking.
I'm gonna get a new goal, a new personal goal on mine. I'm gonna try and acquire his card and your card and put you guys online and see what I can do. See if I can do a little damage with the two Camerons there on my squad. How about that?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. MLB The Show has been something that I play every once in a while. I haven't even touched my video game, thinking since I've been, had these kids. But I've been spending more time them, letting them understand their surrounding atmosphere more than anything. For me to, for them to know what they're getting into, what they're not getting into. But as far as gaming, I did think about go ahead, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take my game with me to this trip, and for my, while my family's going back to the house to Atlanta, so I can play a little bit of Call of Duty. But I play game. I game a lot. Not sure what the new MLB is kind of presenting, but that'd be something cool to see.
Yeah, we'll get you on there.
Definitely. I saw a few guys with some cards out here. I was telling one of the guys out here after the game that, hey, I was looking at this card, the Mike Trout card, and it's like the Mike Trout card supposedly was going for like $1 million during his like rookie season. Someone had bought it, so I said I saw the card, and I said I'm gonna start collecting cards as much as I can, and I'm gonna order a case. Yeah, because cars are something that I collect too. So I was like, I'm not doing a case, but there's a couple cases that you can find, get off Amazon. And this guy my locker mate when I was in Milwaukee, can't remember his name, but he had a huge orange box of collectibles, and he was collecting a whole bunch of Topps cars, different cars. So I thought that was cool. So that's what kind of reminded me to go ahead and start collecting.
Yeah, get on in there. Dip your toes in the trading waters. I like that.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do that, man. So definitely.
Daz Cameron, Nashville Sounds outfielder, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Daz, we appreciate your time, man. Good luck tonight and the rest of this weekend with Charlotte, and we'll be in touch, man. Thank you.
Definitely, for sure, man. I appreciate you guys, and
thank you.
Thank you, Daz.
All right, guys, take care.
Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
July 25th, 1992, Danny Jackson held the host Braves to one hit over 7 innings. Unfortunately for Pittsburgh, the one hit was a second-inning solo home run by David Justice, and the Bucks couldn't do anything with Charlie Leibrandt and the bullpen combo of Alejandro Pena and Kent Mercker as Atlanta won 1-0. Helping seal the victory was Otis Nixon, who went above the center field fence to steal a go-ahead ninth-inning home run from Andy Van Slyke in one of the greatest catches you'll ever see. Mark, do we have that catch by any chance?
There's a drive, deep right center field. Nixon goes as far as he can go.
Oh, baby.
He caught the ball. He caught the ball. I can't believe
That was this day in Braves history. And I can tell you, I was sitting at Texana down at Hickory Hollow Mall with some folks and not paying nearly as much attention to the conversation as I should have been when that play took place. And I about came out of my seat. That again, that one really resonates. Michael Harris, before Michael Harris was Michael Harris, there was Otis Nixon. So for the show and future co-host David Wilson with a bonus this day in Braves history. 2 years ago, Atlanta turned the first 8-3-5 triple play since 1884. They did it against the Red Sox at Fenway Park. And speaking of Michael Harris II, he didn't have to go over a wall this time, but he started this triple play, doubles a runner off first, and Matt Olson throws across the diamond to Austin Riley to complete a triple play in a what nowadays are rare a win for the Braves there. But do we want to show that one, Mark? Do we have it? As long as we're doing videos.
Shallow right center, long run, but Michael gets there. Throwing back to first, may have a play. Double to Morphin, maybe a triple play. It is unbelievable.
Tic-tac-toe.
Yep. Again, you don't see that every year, every day. You see that once in like 137 years. So anyway, the Braves take
Michael Harris, friend of Martin Methodist College. Former All-American for us, Reed McCory. That's his first cousin. So always good to see him getting a little love on the program here.
Oh, wow. Did not know that. Very cool. Okay. The Braves take their 44-57 record on the road. They go to Texas, opening a 3-game series against the Rangers tonight. The Rangers 53-50. It'll be Joey Wentz looking for his first win since joining the Braves. He has no record. Has a 3.50 earned run average. Nathan Eovaldi 7-3 with a 1.58, getting the start for the Rangers. And it's a dark day for the Braves as reliever Jesse Chavez announced his retirement yesterday after 18 seasons. Over that 18 years in the majors, he's been with 9 different teams, but he spent 5 different stints with the Braves. And over 6 seasons in a Braves uniform, he's got a career earned run average of 3.30, which is a run below his career ERA of 4.27. He's been better with Atlanta than he's been anywhere else, and it's kind of amazing. It's uncanny how much better he had been during his time with the Braves than he was anywhere else. But yeah, it's certainly the end of an era as Uncle Jesse finally hangs him up.
Yeah, I'm reading them from MLB.com. 18 seasons, 9 teams, 10 trades. Even MLB.com didn't officially hand this out, but they're speculating maybe the most traded player in MLB history.
That was wild to read. Maybe it's Major League Baseball. They don't know if that's accurate or not, but yeah, maybe the most traded player in MLB history.
And we talked about it, with the NFL guys showing up to training camp and saying, I'm not about that life. You wonder if that's what Chavez was thinking. He's like, it's a long season. I'll see y'all guys later. I got better things to do.
Well, he got designated for assignment for a 3rd time here not too long ago. And I guess he thought, you know what?
Yeah, I'm really good, guys.
I'm not going to Gwinnett. I'm going to the house. Yeah. So, but kudos to him. We'll probably see him in a pitching coach's role somewhere here at some point, but happy trails to Uncle Jesse. Athletics 5, Houston 2. We touched on it in the rundown. Luis Severino came into that game with a 3-11 record for the Athletics. All he does is go 7 innings, striking out 8 as the Astros had their 4-game win streak snapped.
Yeah, I watched a decent chunk of this game last night for some reason. I don't know why. I was really compelled. Maybe I had nothing better to do, I guess. But, yeah, he was dazzling. And, he was pitching against the baby Astros. There was a lot of AAA-ish type talent up there. But, you got to strap him up just like everybody else. And he was really hitting his spots. Houston didn't really do him a lot of favors. They were swinging a lot of first pitches, swinging at least 2 or 3 different ball fours. But hey, you go up against who you go up against, and he was great last night for them, and they got enough run production on their end to kind of make things hold up.
Yeah. 7-10 tonight is Jeffrey Springs going for the Athletics, 8-7 with a 4.18. Ryan Gusto for the Astros, 6-3 with a 4.46 earned run average. Those are your starters as the Athletics and Astros get back after it tonight. We are about 6 days away from the trade deadline, and a couple of teams have acted accordingly. Last night, it was Josh Naylor getting moved from the Arizona Diamondbacks to the Seattle Mariners as they look for a bat to stick behind the big dumper, Cal Raleigh, there. So, and they've got a pretty good middle of the order already with Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and Randy Arozarena, but this makes that lineup a little deeper, I would think.
Yeah, it seems like a good bit of business. Was listening to the you went full fan mode. I was pinging back and forth between the Oakland Freudian slip there, between the Athletics and Astros feeds last night. And it was interesting kind of hearing both crews breaking that down. And, Houston's crew had, a little bit more concern rather than the Athletics crew, which was, just kind of breaking the news, but also kind of wishing everybody well. So that could be a key piece for Seattle, who kind of just refuses to go away. And it seems, whether it's the West or not, it seems like they're going to be in the mix deep into the season in terms of postseason and perhaps beyond, kind of loading up for something like that.
Yeah. Naylor hitting .292 with Arizona, 11 home runs, 59 ribs in 93 games. So again, kind of lengthening the middle of that order around Raleigh, Rodriguez, and Arozarena. So should be interesting to see how that offense responds to that injection of power there. Meanwhile, the Mets decide to address their bullpen, picking up Gregory Soto, not to be confused with Juan Soto, from the Baltimore Orioles, sent a pair of pitching prospects to Baltimore in exchange. Again, Soto's been in the Baltimore bullpen this season after previous stints with Philadelphia and Detroit. Over the past 4 seasons, he has made at least 62 appearances. The lefty has held lefties to a 138 batting average and posted a 396 earned run average over those 4 seasons. And he's kind of a rental for the Mets. He becomes a free agent at the end of this season. So
couple bits of moves. And this is kind of just a palate cleanser, right? It feels like, maybe this time next week, we kind of sit like we were at the NBA trade deadline this year. Not as much activity as we had perhaps forecasted, but it feels like MLB always delivers the goods. There's always some buyers and there's always some clear sellers.
Yeah. Toronto stayed hot. Detroit stayed cold. 11-4 Blue Jays last night. Toronto winning for the 19th time in their last 24 games. Detroit falling to 1-10 over their last 11. And I think that the warning signs and signals are going off in Detroit right about now.
Yeah, and again, for some reason, I don't know what was up with me last night, but I was watching a little bit of this game too, and Reese Olson was absolutely dealing for the Tigers until he wasn't. The Tigers winning that game through 5 innings, and then Olson comes out for the 6th, and all hell broke loose. And next thing you know, Toronto is rounding the bases left and right, scoring all 11 runs in the final 4 innings, 6, 7, and 8 innings to be specific. So, and then there was a chance of rain. It looked like the game might, have to be shortened early. Detroit kind of offers a little bit of a whimper with 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. But, they got big problems. And, man, frustrating because, like I said, Olson was pitching well. He ends up only lasting 5 2/3, but through the first 5 innings, he was virtually unhittable. And then in that 6th, they really got to him, and especially Guerrero. Big Vlad has kind of been on a heater. He's doubled now back-to-back days. He's kind of got a little extra pop in his bat. Look out if you're not just in the AL East, but obviously baseball at large, because the Blue Jays don't look like they're going anywhere at this measure.
Right. Yeah. Hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. Let's take a break. Let's come back for hour number 2 when we get into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up starts right now here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are getting into the grab bag. Let's start in Lawrence, Kansas, where longtime Jayhawks basketball coach Bill Self was hospitalized yesterday and underwent a heart procedure, had a couple of stents put in after experiencing, quote, concerning symptoms. Obviously expected to fully recover. Second time in a couple of years that the 62-year-old Self has had such concerns. Had a couple of stents placed in 2023 as well that made him unavailable both for the Big 12 and the NCAA tournament that year. And so, once again, I guess this one's over the off season, and so maybe he's got time to get back and be back to full health by the time they get going for the 25-26 season. 62 years old. It's a little young to be undergoing that kind of thing. Take it from me.
Yeah. I mean, and it is, but also kind of like we talked about the Hulkster yesterday too. I mean, you're talking about a college basketball coach at a rabid fan base who is not exactly used to some of the shortcomings that they've had the last couple of seasons. So under a lot of stress, but obviously heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Because, I mean, this is a guy that we're talking about is on a lifetime contract, 5-year rolling deal that makes him the highest paid in college basketball. So hopefully he's taking care of himself, and, you know, hopefully this was just a small blip on the radar to get him kind of back up to speed.
You like to think so. You certainly hope so. Like you said, ultra successful, not necessarily as successful as that fan base would like, but and this will be his 22nd year at Kansas. came on board in 0304. So whatever the math is there, 22nd, 23rd year. That is a long time anywhere, but particularly in a meat grinder like Kansas is, where the expectations are so high, and they've not necessarily met them as often as those fans would like. So Bill, take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, a couple national championships, but like you said, they want one every year. They want the best of the best, and hopefully he gets back up to speed. He's only missed. The only other time he's missed came from that 4-game suspension when the FBI probe was kind of going on a couple of seasons ago. But I'm reading on the Athletic here, and he's got a couple guys that they really, if he were to miss any time, you feel like you're in pretty good shape. It's a borderline NBA staff kind of what they've put behind. They open a exhibition game at Louisville on October 24th, and then a little opponent called Wisconsin Green Bay on November 3rd. Will be their regular season open. So safe recovery for our guy, Bill Self.
Wisconsin, is that where Gottlieb is?
Mm-hmm.
That should be interesting.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I think that's the best way I can put it, actually. So I'm just going to step away from that and step across the pond, as has Zakai Ziegler, apparently. After playing summer league ball with the Detroit Pistons earlier, Zakai has signed apparently a basketball contract with Nanterre 92 in France. It's good to know that he's going to be playing professionally, getting paid at the professional level after becoming one of the all-time favorites in University of Tennessee men's basketball history. Averaged 13.5 points, 7.5 assists last year for UT, and man, pound for pound, probably one of the best to ever put on the orange and white, man. So, again, glad he's going to get paid for a little bit at the professional level. I don't know that this, parlays into an NBA opportunity for him just from a size standpoint, man. But you can still go a lot of places and play professional basketball for money without it being in the NBA. And you see a lot of guys go overseas and forge some really lengthy careers and get paid for a long time. And so hopefully that'll be the case for Zakai, man.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say this is a guy that can play in his game. It feels like there's a reason that Vols fans kind of gravitated toward him, and it feels like there's a reason international fans will gravitate toward his game. He's a high energy guy, and so yeah, as long as he stays healthy and as long as he wants to keep playing basketball, he will have an opportunity overseas.
You would certainly think so. We talked about Lane Kiffin and Greg McElroy and some other folks kind of giving oxygen to the possibility of a coaching return for the legendary Nick Saban. Well, apparently Saban himself has kind of tried to tamp that down. In a recent interview, said his mind is nowhere near the sidelines of a football field. There is no opportunity that I know of right now that would entice me to go back to coaching. That right now it could be doing some work. Stay tuned with that. But I enjoy what I'm doing. I did it for 50 years. I loved it. I love the relationship with the players. I love the competition. But it's another station of life now. I enjoy what I'm doing right now and want to continue to do it and spend more time with my family, my grandchildren, my children. It's been really, really good. So, that makes sense. And I think that's what rational folks kind of had in mind when that stuff was coming out a couple of weeks ago, heading into SEC football media days and during SEC football media days. Again, Saban is what, 72, 73, 74, somewhere along through there. I never really ever had a thought about getting back into coaching until 2 days ago. Miss Terry said I had to run the sweeper in the entire downstairs. So while I was running the sweeper, the thought occurred to me, when you were coaching, you had a heck of a lot better job than this. So that's the only time I considered it. Yeah, he better watch Miss Terry. She'll have him running more than the sweeper. But
yeah, better be careful, old Nick. And you're right. I mean, we kind of went through that a couple weeks ago, and it's unrealistic. Only real avenue I could see is the NFL, and at least obviously for this season, everything is kind of intact there. Like I said, it would be sweet to see him and Pete chewing gum and going at each other across the sidelines at 73 years young, but who knows? And then there were reports back in May, President Trump issuing that executive order, kind of saving college sports. There was a report back in May that Saban might be involved as kind of a commissioner or kind of a co-chair, kind of involved. That's kind of the next logical step if he wants to stay kind of hands-on in college athletics, to me. It feels like the college sidelines have kind of passed him by, and he's okay with that. But he's also got a sweet gig kind of settling into this new media role. So he can do whatever he wants except call the shots in his own house for good reason. Miss Terry, you better be careful. You're onto something there.
No, those shots are being called elsewhere and being called quite well, it sounds like. Meanwhile, if Saban does come back, it won't be at Missouri anytime soon. Eli Drinkwitz signed an extension yesterday. He's been extended through the 2029 season atop the Tigers. This will be a 6-year in Como. 38-24 over the past 5. The winningest coach in Missouri football history through 5 seasons. 21-5 since the start of the 23 season. So, give credit where credit is due. Drinkwitz has Missouri in some, kind of uncharted territory relative to where they had been. So he had previously signed an extension in 22 that would take him through the 2027 season. So he's picked up another couple of years and also secured the bag for his staff as well. So nice little piece of business there for Drinkwitz and the Tigers coaching staff there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a seemingly a fair deal to me because, I mean, we're expectations are perhaps high, but you kind of got to realize where you're at if you're a Missouri Tigers fan. And I don't know that they necessarily want to hear this, but this is maybe about as good as you could realistically kind of expect. Be gamey every 2 or 3 years, have a really, really good team and maybe make a run. But yeah, not bad, kind of rewarding the guy that's kind of led you back into at least a little shred of kind of football relevancy here.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, shred of football relevancy. Good news out of Gang Green preseason camp. After lamenting the potential loss of Justin Fields to a toe injury, was seen jogging to practice earlier today. So, that's got to be good news. Apparently it was not a fracture, just a dislocation when somebody stepped on his toe. Man, got to watch where you step, guys. Come on. Let's not be stepping on QB1. But,
yeah, he had to go Uma Thurman style and Kill Bill. He was in there saying, wiggle your big toe, wiggle your big toe. And the reports are obviously rampant. Everybody is so football frenzied right now that you're reacting in real time to some information, little information, all information. The fact of the matter is, though, yeah, they're going to need him to be even remotely competitive this year, outside of perhaps bringing somebody else in. So good to see him kind of back and maybe on the come up.
And man, that remotely competitive in that division. I mean, when you're talking about the Bills, you're talking about the Dolphins, and yeah, so they are definitely fighting uphill, it feels like, and an injury to him does not help that fight at all. So
no, I mean they're clearly the 4th best team as it sits right now in that division, and they might get lucky and show a little sign of improvement. But to your point, yeah, they are fighting uphill, and they need everybody at full strength in a kind of true rebuilding year for the Jets.
Arizona rookie defensive lineman Walter Nolan, a name that you hesitate to mention out in Rotorville, kind of wreaked havoc against the Patriots in a state championship game a handful of years ago. has injured his calf in training and has been placed on the physically unable to perform list by the Cardinals. The rookie out of Ole Miss via Texas A&M, sidelined for the moment, but was an All-American this past season, had 6.5 sacks, fourth most among defensive tackles at the FBS level. And according to PFF, had the second best run defense grade by defensive tackles. So obviously Arizona looking for some big things out of him, but it's going to be a minute before he's able to deliver on them, going on the PUP list yesterday.
Yeah, a little puppy dog action there for Nolan, and you said it. He was a menace last year for Ole Miss. Part of really, Jackson Dart and the offense was getting a lot of attention, but what really kind of got everybody excited and why you could really maybe realistically think about them as being a playoff contender was the fact that their defense was so commanding last year, and he was right there in the thick of it.
No doubt. So, again, a little bit of a setback for the Cardinals there, but, hopefully he can get whatever. I mean, it doesn't really specify what the situation is. I don't know if it's a strain or a tear or what, but it's something with the calf, and he's gonna miss some time, according to Coach Jonathan Gannon. So keeping an eye on that, obviously. Wade, did you see the Browns' new helmets?
Yes and no. I saw part of it, but then I was distracted.
Why were they doing it on a raft?
Why does Cleveland why did they draft 2 quarterbacks? Why did they draft 2 running backs? Why do they do anything is a fair question. I'm not real sure. I don't have much of an answer for you.
I got you. Yeah, they unveiled their alternate helmets on a lake somewhere, and during the unveiling, someone fell off the raft. Again, it was a little bit distracting, but brown helmets to go with the brown unis. I guess it's a color rush, huh?
Yeah, first ever, what they're calling the Alpha Dog look. First time ever they're going to debut those. They look pretty sweet. Yeah, the reveal was pretty cool. If you're a conspiracy theory or connect the dots guy, maybe you tell your social media manager to take a tumble off the
take a
raft
dive.
right there. Yeah, I mean, everybody is talking about the reveal now. I don't know without that element we'd really be caring or talking about it on this, even on this show, as much right now.
That could very well be, but that's
Browns.
an interesting. It's pretty much a contrast. It's just a flip of their regular gamers that are orange with a couple of brown stripes. Instead, these are brown with a couple of orange stripes across down the top. So with those brown uniforms, it's a wild look. It's eye-catching for sure. I'm not the biggest fashion guy, but that's an interesting look.
They're not bad. They're not bad. And what they're really doing too is they're kind of simmering down a little bit all the talk about the battle over the budget for the new stadium, where they're trying to move it out of downtown Cleveland too. So anything you can kind of do when you got the mayor involved and the governor, kind of involved, anything like that you can kind of maybe turn down the heat just a little bit. Again, maybe a little creative in a different way by the Browns there. I see what you're doing, guys.
A little distraction there is what you're saying, huh? I see what you're saying. I see where you're going. We talked a little bit about the Indiana Fever yesterday going into their game against the Aces, picked up a big win without Caitlin Clark. But ahead of that, Fever forward Sophie Cunningham got docked by the WNBA $500 for apparently criticizing referees in a TikTok video. This is a little over my head. Wade, maybe you can relate to this a little bit better, but in the video, she was lip syncing to a song bite from a Sabrina Carpenter song, "Manchild." And the phrase that apparently got folks' attention was "stupid, or is it slow? Maybe it's useless." Again, I'm not real familiar with it, but apparently folks with the WNBA are, and she got fined $500 for it. I don't know why this is funny to me. Like, okay, you got it, bud, because there's not more important things to be worried about with our league right now, says Sophie.
Yeah, she's certainly been in the news from stories still leaking out from her time back in Phoenix to currently, coming after folks on the court. She has certainly had the biggest splash from somebody not named Clark or Reese this offseason, I think it's fair to say, in WNBA headlines. And, the talk for more money, if I'm the WNBA, I'm like, okay, we could revisit those conversations. But just know that the fines are going up. $500. I mean, that's a decent amount of money to me, but that's like comical. And I know these ladies don't get paid a lot and are chronically kind of underpaid for their value. But $500 is comical, to say the least, to me. So I kind of just rolled my eyes when I saw that amount.
For a fine from a professional sports league, yeah, 500 did. I mean, I don't think she's going to have to pull together a GoFundMe for that. I don't think so. And if she does, she can just monetize her TikTok, apparently, because that video got 1.2 million views.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she thought it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, massive offseason. I mean, if you're just looking at it from an ROI standpoint, her brand probably outweighed the $500, to say the least, that she got. So, speaking of Missouri, former Mizzou Tiger there. So she's doing. I don't know that it was 4D chess by her, but if it was, well played.
There we go. That's probably a little piece of business that our next guest could appreciate. JAMESETTA Cleveland from Sports Mom U getting set to join us here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stick around when we come back from this break.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Joining us now, again, one of our favorite guests, because we always learn something when Jamesetta Cleveland from Sports Mom U joins us. Jamesetta, good Friday afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Interesting conversation about Little Miss Sophie. I was listening to the show, so doing very well.
She's having quite the season, isn't she?
Mhm.
Quite the season, and quite the off season as well.
Indeed. Anyway, Jamesetta, obviously a lot going on with college athletics and with your endeavors with Sports Mom. What right now do you particularly have your eyes on?
I am watching a couple of things because our world is moving. Specifically, I'm watching how the NCAA is using its influence to, for lack of a better word, codify the House portions of the House settlement into law. I have been watching the Student Athlete Right to Organize Act for maybe 3 or 4 years now. It had gotten no movement, but it was actually reintroduced on Wednesday, the day of the final. There was a hearing on the SCORE Act. So I'm watching the attempts to codify, and that comes in, part of it comes in rulings from the College Sports Commission and what they said of originally that collectives, all of their deals were impermissible. I watched, how that bled into the hearings for the SCORE Act, which were on Thursday, and then watch the executive order, which is really a reiteration, a different version of the SCORE Act in the House settlement. So I'm watching how the NCAA is using its influence politically to put things into law and restrict the movement of athletes as well as their dollars.
The House settlement, obviously, it's going to get challenged. It's been challenged, and it's almost like they knew that it would be challenged when they threw the initial proposal out there.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. For me, it has been very interesting to watch history attempt to repeat itself. I won't get into it, but if your listeners do any research, they should research. There's a reason there are not a lot of Black race jockeys in the United States of America. And I'm watching the parallels of what happened 100 years ago, or attempt to happen again. But I would say, yes, they did know that certain portions of the House settlement would be challenged. However, it is also worth it to get some of the concessions that they got. For example, I use this a lot. People are really loving the propaganda that says, hey, we're going to have more scholarship opportunities, because they took away the scholarship limits. But they did implement roster limits. And so I tell people, if you're not in the thick of it, you may not understand that roster limits are going to cost scholarships. I am by no means optimistic that the House settlement itself said that they anticipated an additional 115,000 new scholarship spots to be created. And I am of no. There's nothing about me. I'm of no mind. There's nothing in my heart that says, yep, the NCAA is going to create an additional $115,000 and 115,000 roster spots all throughout college sports. Because even as they were negotiating the settlements, schools were saying, we can't afford to be a part of this. So I have observed schools even as late as this week, go down from Division I to Division III, where they don't have to offer athletic dollars at all. I've watched entire programs be cut. Washington State was very clear about, hey, these are sports we're no longer offering scholarships because we won't offer the sport at all. And so there wasn't a lot of, this is an opportunity, because some schools, they needed to cut sports, but they didn't have a reason. And so there are definitely good things in regards to House. I'm always about athletes getting their dollars. but there are certain things that now they're out there, you won't actually be able to put that genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, James, that I wanted to ask you. I feel like I could ask you this every time you come on, but you mentioned the House settlement. Then yesterday, obviously, we get news about the executive order. At what point do we kind of get to enough of a stopping point where we can kind of look around the landscape and at least try and figure out what the heck is going on? Because it feels like we're in this constant state of flux where everything is kind of moving. And I'm just curious, is there kind of a stopping point, however short it may be, in the upcoming future?
We could actually stop now.
Okay.
Two things.
I like that.
Two things could happen. The people that are in charge of the system could say, it is time for us to reimagine how college athletics gets done. We could really have that conversation. Painful, because then you have to acknowledge that the little boys and girls who play football and basketball make everything else run. And while it's wonderful to talk about Olympic sports, they're cyclical. So it's not equitable in and of itself to ask two sports to fund everything, right? So we could just say, as adults, the system we created doesn't work. Let's sit down holistically and reimagine a new system. Or we could say, the problem is NIL, so let's stop talking about transfers. Let's stop talking about scholarships. Let's stop talking about roster limits. Let's stop talking about grade points. Let's stop talking about things that do not pertain to NIL. Because if you or your listeners go back to 2021, there have been zero truly clean bills that deal just with name, image, and likeness. Every bill has something else in it in regards to transfers, or there's something about trying to limit athlete movement. So we could say, as adults, let's get a clean NIL bill. Let's do that. Let's just talk. If that's the problem, let's just really talk about what you say is the problem.
That sounds amazing, but it also seems unrealistic because it feels like no bill ever gets passed, whether we're talking college athletics or not. There's always some little extra wrinkle or some little line at the end that gets kind of tossed in, and it feels – I was not shocked when you kind of mentioned that just a moment ago.
Well, if you actually had a clean bill, you'd have to acknowledge 100% of the people in the United States of America have NIL. NIL is just a fancy way of saying publicity rights. 100% of us have them. We don't use them, but we all have them, right? So it's not.
I attempt to use mine. It just doesn't work.
Using yours right now, whether you say it's working or not. But you know what? Nobody's trying to pass a federal law saying who you can do business with. Nobody's trying to pass a federal law stopping you from moving your business from one place to another. It is really about control. And the sooner people acknowledge that what this is really about is not NIL, because influencers exist, models exist, professional athletes endorse companies all the time. They start companies, they enter partnerships. We don't have a federal law regulating who they can do business with. If we just really acknowledge that this is about controlling the source of athlete dollars as well as limiting their movement, we would really be better off, because we keep having these challenges because the people in charge refuse to actually just say what we're asking for isn't necessary. It really isn't necessary.
We're talking sports, obviously. Is this? It seems like a classic. I mean, are we just going to continuously move the goalposts? It sounds like just when you think you've got the cat, wrapped up and you're going to put him in the bag, something else pops up, because it seems like we could almost, even though it felt like we were maybe closing in and we could really kind of see some true progress, it kind of feels like we just kind of keep changing the conversation. And in some ways, we end up kind of getting back to where we started, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's hard to change the conversation because we haven't had it. If you look at all of the material changes that have happened in the name, image, and likeness space, they've all been generated by a court case. There hasn't been a let's sit down and holistically imagine how this should work. Even the NCAA's own quote unquote interim rules, they weren't voluntary, right? So it's very difficult to get stability when you're waiting for the results of one court case or another. I was reading, just for example, some people want additional eligibility. For me, athletic eligibility has nothing to do with NIL. But the argument athletes are making is, hey, I'm missing money because I don't have eligibility. Well, on that one issue, I want to say I read maybe a couple of days ago that over the last year or so, there's been 26 lawsuits. So how can you have stability if people are using NIL as an opportunity to genuinely break the system and you're consistently waiting for the result of an additional lawsuit? You just can't be stable.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm visualizing a situation. You could have everything perfectly crafted, and just when you think you've kind of got a solid situation, well, this particular lawsuit had such language or such a unique situation. We need to throw a provision. I mean, it kind of feels like we're just kind of shoveling dirt on top and kind of moving things around. And like you said, we're not really getting to a definite, clear-cut kind of solution, it feels like. We're just kind of remedying the problems as they arise.
Until we sit down and say, let's reimagine the system. Because, like, think about it. We started this because the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. And then there were different laws that were passed. California started with the Fair Pay to Play Act. And then Florida. So then we had little pockets of lawsuits. Everybody loves their pet university. So we want to make sure our university gets the most favorable state laws because we don't want to lose our recruiting advantage. And then you have, I love attorneys, don't get me wrong, but this is an entirely new market for them. There is a lot of money in college sports. And so if it's a new market, okay, let's do some business. I need to sue some people so I can get some money. So let's challenge things. Let's challenge them over and over and over and over until we get the right judge. And maybe we'll get a judge that's favorable. We see that all the time. And so until people in charge say what we created doesn't work, let's start over from the ground up, then you'll get stability. But you won't ever have stability if you refuse to acknowledge that your system is flawed, deeply flawed, and you're just waiting for a state to pass a law, or you're waiting for a court case, because even the executive order, even the SCORE Act, it's all a bailout. These are just, let's go lobby and let's figure out who at the federal level is willing to bail us out. And everybody loves their team. Like, look, they're all fans. They graduated from somewhere.
Or represent a certain institution in a sense, right, in terms of constituency.
Oh, but they're fans. I observed the hearings. They're fans. They are real fans. Real fans.
Yeah. JAMESETTA, basically what you're saying is no one has been proactive in this whole situation. Everything's been reactive.
Yeah. Everything. Even the house settlement, it is a settlement in response to, hey, do we settle for $2 billion or a little over $2 billion, or do we go to court and then the stakes are $20 billion? What's cheaper?
Right.
And I will say this: until the powers that be sit down and say the system is flawed, let's reimagine it. And we do kind of see there's a couple of proposals out there that I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Until that happens, the attorneys in the House settlement got at the very minimum $475 million. And for a very litigious society that we live in that loves to sue, that's 475 million reasons for me to try to go and sue, because I might like an athlete, but I really love a paycheck. And we need to acknowledge that as well.
JAMESETTA Cleveland of Sports Mom U joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. With that said, JAMESETTA, what are you telling potential college athletes and their families right now as they get ready to embark on their careers or as they try to maintain and continue their careers?
I am saying to families, you need to sit down and decide what you want and start speaking up. Because I've been to multiple hearings where people who are testifying on behalf of universities will say, well, employee status, which is not NIL, but it is an issue that keeps being thrown around in different bills. Well, no athlete has come to me and said they want to be an employee. Well, why would so? Because no one's coming to me and said they want to be an employee, then that means that they don't want to be. Well, why would an athlete come to you and talk to you about a controversial topic if they don't feel safe? Because for good or for bad, we can say, well, oh, scholarships are guaranteed. We know when coaches don't want players, they find ways to get rid of them. So you haven't created a system. And so I tell parents and athletes, your silence is being interpreted as consent. Mm-hmm. That you want these different lawsuits, you want these different bills that are being actually proposed. Decide what you want as the people who make the system run. And I've been challenging them. I posted the senators and I posted the representatives who introduced the SCORE Act. I wanted to point out to my families, like especially West Coast families, hey, everybody that co-authored or co-sponsored this bill, they're all from SEC country or Big Ten country. Do they really have your actual interests at heart? If your conference isn't a part of their, to your point, constituency, are they really going to create something that's holistic and good for everybody? So I'm challenging them to think about what they want, and I'm challenging them to start writing letters, start making phone calls, and start having meetings so that they can actually start speaking up to say, this is what we desire, and this is how we want the new world to look, because at this point, athletes and their families have not had a legitimate seat at the table.
You know, if you're not a football or a basketball athlete, Jamesetta, how do you go about securing some type of equitable compensation, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, in this new situation?
Well, it depends on what we're calling equitable compensation, right? Are we talking equitable compensation in terms of revenue sharing? Because if that's the conversation, we do have to say, all right, let's look at fan behavior here in the United States. And while we don't like the truth, we do have to admit that fans, you, me, your listeners, the sports that we watch consistently are football and basketball. We watch Olympic sports on a 4-year cycle because we watch them when the Olympics happen. So if I'm an Olympic athlete and I'm thinking equity in terms of revenue share, then I've got to really start to understand fan behavior. I've got to start saying, okay, what can we do to grow it? And I know people hate this, but we really do. Communities, true, authentic communities that do what you ask them to do, like buy tickets and show up, they actually do run the world. And so one is equitable. Do I generate the revenue? The other thing is equitable, am I going to do what I call true NIL? Am I going to actually start my own business, or am I going to invest in I'm going to invest in another business? Am I going to use athletics for leverage? Am I going to create partnerships? And if I'm going to create partnerships, part of creating true partnerships where you can make a lot of dollars forever and ever and ever is figuring out who you are, how you prefer to show up in the world, what you like, finding your authentic voice in the social space or in your local town, and building a community that wants what you have to offer. So they have to ask themselves, what's equity? Is it revenue sharing? And then you have to look at true fan behavior. And if it's just, I want my part of the NIL pie, then that's how do you do work? Like, for example, we're local. There's a young man at Battleground Academy where my kids went to school. His name is Trace Alexander. Ran cross country, but it loves oatmeal. And I have watched him build a following. In the world of NIL that says, oh, you have to play very well, you have to be a super big name. That young man, to his credit, has eaten oatmeal into his own business called Trace Oats. And I love that for him. And he didn't need to be on anybody's TV, but he did need to understand, who am I? How do I prefer to show up? What's unique about me? What am I willing to do every day, day in, day out, to build a community and go do it? And I love that. He's a great example of what is possible if you decide that you want to pursue it.
Jamesetta Cleveland of Sports Mom U joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, I tell you, we learn something every time we have you on, and we appreciate you being out there doing the work so that we don't have to. But what is your next big thing? I know that you do a lot of seminars and talks and that kind of thing, trying to educate parents and families on this new collegiate athletics world and how to survive and thrive in it. You got anything coming up that you need to let people know about?
I won't not let them know, but remind. My group, virtually there's a lot of us, and sometimes we just forget. I would say the next big thing, the most impactful thing, is I'm launching what I'm calling courageous conversations. And I got that term from my aunt. And for me, I have observed, so I manage, I have an online community of sports moms. When you put them all together, there's around almost 20,000 of them. And what I am observing is we are outwardly successful. Our kids are going to college to play in college. Some of them are playing professionally, but internally, they don't know who they are. They have no identity outside of sports. So on August 2nd and 3rd, I'm kicking off what it's called the 360 Sports Mom Boot Camp. And I'm bringing a small group of moms whom I love dearly. And we're going to have some very uncomfortable, but very courageous conversations in my small group. And then after that, we will kick it off to the world. I'm looking at another date in October, but we're going to actually do the work of raising whole people and not just athletes, because I'm finding more and more, sometimes families don't know how to have conversations. For example, I have some parents who have never made as much money as their college athletes have made. And sometimes they don't know how to tell them, let's be wise, or how to be wise with their dollars, because they can't even fathom the dollars that the kids are making. So we're going to bring some people in from the financial world to help us understand, how do you have those conversations in a way that you can change the trajectory of your family. So that's what we've got going on in our world right now.
How do people find you?
I am not hard to find, as Deion Sanders would say. I am at sports, SPORTS _ mom, MOM _ the letter U, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Threads. And then they can find me on Facebook at Sports Mom University. I have a business Facebook page.
There she is. She ain't hard to find. Jamesetta Cleveland, the Sports Mom U, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And if you are the parent of a aspiring collegiate athlete, it would behoove you to find her. And again, she ain't hard to find. Jamesetta, we appreciate it. Thank you for spending some time with us, as always. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. You guys have a great weekend.
You too. See you.
Absolutely. You too. Let's take a break. Let's get to our final segment, the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, continues after this.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. a good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the PIC Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
The final segment of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We mentioned it during the rundown. Nashville Soccer Club heads west. They are taking on San Diego FC tonight. It's a 9:30 first touch. Yeah, you can see it on Apple TV. I did not realize San Diego was an expansion club, Wade, until I started, reading up and trying to get ready for tonight. But they have kind of been the Vegas Golden Knights of MLS, I guess.
Yeah, that's what's made them so special this year is the fact that they've been on maybe one of the best expansion seasons the MLS has seen. And this will be a tricky match for NSC tonight, going on the road and trying to obviously secure a win, but more importantly, trying to at least secure a point to kind of keep pace with the run and form that they've been on.
First trip out west for NSC since that ill-fated April trip when they dropped their last match in a pretty good while to Seattle. So trying to avoid another such result here tonight. But again, this is a really good team that they're going to be running into, a really good side, as they say in footy, that they're going to be encountering out in San Diego tonight. 13-4-7 is SDFC atop the Western table. Nashville 14-5-5, second behind FC Cincinnati, only a point behind FC Cincinnati. And so trying to certainly stay within shouting distance of Cincinnati in the Eastern Conference. And coming just a couple of days after the All-Star game where you had three of your key components participating in that, going across country, not fun necessarily. Nashville would be challenged, it feels like.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be tricky tonight. Jacob Schaufelberg pretty much listed as questionable, so don't expect to maybe see him back. Be a little fun, too, tonight. Anibal Godoy, former Nashville standout, who's kind of always in the mix with the U.S. call-up process. He's been starring out in San Diego, so they have overachieved by every kind of expansion measure. But they're a quality team, and again, kind of in a weird spot on the schedule with a couple guys being in, kind of being out. Hopefully NSC can come out and pick up at least a result tonight. I will be clicking my heels if they can grab at least a draw. If for some reason they can snag a win, obviously I'll be over the moon. But should be a fun one tonight. A new look team. And, just 2 years ago when NSC was still in the West, this would have been a conference game. But now it's just a fun little road trip out to the West Coast.
If Nashville can somehow pick up a win, and if FC Cincinnati were to lose its match tomorrow, Nashville could be at the top of the Eastern Conference table by the end of the weekend. Now, FC Cincinnati traveling to Inter Miami, which will be without Lionel Messi and Jordi Alba, excuse me. The MLS has spoken. Those two missing the MLS All-Star game against Liga MX on Wednesday night will cost them tomorrow night's game. So, all of a sudden, the chances of Cincinnati losing at Miami drop a little bit, I would guess.
Yeah, I wish I'd looked at the line yesterday because Miami is still a decent-sized favorite, but definitely not a massive favorite at home. And, props to Garber and the MLS, kind of showing a little backbone. And, yeah, Messi and Alba and the rest of Inter Miami would love to have those guys. But the fact it's only a one-match suspension, the opponent, obviously, if this were any other opponent, you probably wouldn't have that much of a concern. But it'll be a tricky game. I would imagine Miami, just pure speculation, going to not park the bus per se, but I'd imagine they'll be a little more hesitant in terms of going forward. Look for them to maybe try and scrape across a 1-0, a 2-1 maybe type victory if they get one tomorrow night. But it would be nice. Nashville's been unfortunate. Every time that they've gotten a solid result, Cincinnati's been kind of able to match them or at least get ahead of them. So Nashville's knocking on the door, but they're not quite there just yet. It's in terms of top of the table.
NASCAR goes to Indianapolis this weekend, the Brickyard 400. It is a 1:00 start Central Time. You can see it on TNT, among other places. Denny Hamlin coming off of his win at Dover. Again, I'm always fascinated by those back-to-back opportunities in NASCAR, so I'm sure he'll be a guy to keep an eye on Sunday afternoon. Meanwhile, Sunday, the eyes certainly of baseball, if not sports in general, will be on Cooperstown, New York, as the Hall of Fame ceremony will take place, in which Ichiro Suzuki, Billy Wagner, the late Dave Parker, and the late Dick Allen, and CC Sabathia will be inducted. CC's just glad to be there, though. Literally, apparently ran into some car problems on their way to Cooperstown yesterday. Tweeted out, car broke down on the way to Cooperstown. Anybody headed that way? It seems that he and his entourage have gotten there. I don't know that they actually took any of the rides that were offered, but made it to Cooperstown. Damn, y'all are some real ones to offer rides and everything. Much love. It's all part of the HOF memories. But, should be a lot of fun Sunday, seeing those 5 inductees. Allen and Parker will each have their sons. Well, their sons will be making their induction ceremony speeches on Sunday. Yeah. Always a fun day seeing this.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, man, imagine just cruising along the highway and all of a sudden, wait a second, is that CC Sabathia? Why does he have his thumb? Why does he have his thumb out? Let me give you a ride, big fella.
Man, I was fortunate enough to get up there. It was one fall when I was on a road trip covering some college basketball. Man, that's not an easy place to get there. You gotta be going to Cooperstown. So I don't know how CC again and his entourage finally got in there, but it's a haul. It's an effort getting to Cooperstown, but once you get there, it's fantastic. It's really pretty, and I'm sure this weekend it'll be a great environment, a great atmosphere. So finally, this is the last show for Wade and I as the sole co-hosts of Main Street Sports Today. Beginning next week, we will be reformed as David Wilson and Calvin White will be taking on some co-hosting responsibilities on a consistent basis. Wade and I will still be with you bookending the week on Mondays and on Fridays, but we will be kind of switching it up a little bit through the week. For right now, next week anyway, it'll be Wade and Calvin on Tuesday David and Calvin on Wednesday, and me and David on Thursday before, again, Wade and I get back together to close out the week, giving us an opportunity to address some other stuff and take a break. So,
portfolio diversification, baby.
Absolutely. Wade and I will see y'all at 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon right here on Main Street Sports Today. Y'all have a great weekend.